And so it came to pass that Archon and Nineball, who once discussed all manner of topics, had been delayed, and their podcast, which so many horrible jokes were made, fell rapidly into ruins. Rising over the buried streamers in the godforsaken wilderness that is Twitch, a solitary podcast, like some monument to absurdity, is all that remains. The Westmarch Workshop's fortune to knowledge was believed to have been lost to the internet, although some say that more remains unscripted, still buried somewhere inside the minds of these two inhuman hosts.
It's a good thing I was muted, because I was laughing hysterically in the background. That was a Diablo 2 lore reference, I guess.
Yes, that is the Moldy Tome, for those that did not pick up on it, or for those that remember but don't remember where it's from. That's the quest that's what starts the quest to kill the Countess back in Act 1.
Nice, nice. Well, yeah, as you guys know, we improv all our intros, so I had no idea what Nineball was doing there, but, very nice. This improv, it makes us come up with new, like, episode 120, I have no idea what we're going to be doing, because we're already running out of material, but that's where we come up with our best stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It struck me the other day, and then I completely forgot to write it down, so sorry about that one, because I typed it up right there in the pre-show.
Oh, yeah.
To try and convert it over. So.
Anyone in the pre-show probably heard Nineball typing furiously, and that was quite impressive.
I'll shove your mouse into your forehead. Ah!
Oh, yes, yeah, that was from chat.
Actually.
Not just Nineball being completely weird. But how was your weekend gaming, Nineball? I heard you got into some pretty exclusive club here.
Yeah, it's actually my weekend gaming. We're gonna go in reverse because just as of yesterday, I got into the Destiny alpha, so that was like yes. And so far, I'm loving it. It's amazing though. I'm only level 7, so I haven't got that far into it, and I just want to preface it with anything that I have to say about the game. The last shooter I played was The Last of Us, and then the last shooter I played before that was Halo 3. To give you an idea of how many shooters that I play and how casual I am in this genre.
All right, I like this because I'm horrible at shooters, so I'm already related.
So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a blast. We'll see once I get into higher levels and do more of the gameplay modes. I've only played a little bit of the PvP. I've done the exploration and I've done one mission. So I've just sampled a little bit of almost everything besides the big group battles. So that's next on the list for tonight.
So it's pretty much like MMO Halo?
It's an MMO shooter. Yeah, it's a MMO Halo, pretty much. That's the best way of describing it. It feels a lot like Halo, because obviously it's Bungie. And you go through and you kill an enemy, and in addition to dropping ammo, you'll go through and pick up something. It's like, oh, I got a helmet. And you go through and you equip all of your gear, and it gives plus stats. Like, I've got something that gives me plus intellect, which reduces my recharge times for my class abilities and all those other types of little bonuses and tweaks. And then the skill system works a lot like the Elder Scrolls game. So the more you use the ability, the faster it levels up. So you actually have to branch out if you want to level up all of your abilities at once. The leveling system doesn't work like that. It's still a kill an enemy, get experience, level up. But the skills will only increase. If you never use your melee attack, it's never going to go up in value. So definitely something that I'm enjoying so far.
That's really cool. And some of the characters are like purely melee, right?
They're like everyone has some form of melee attack, but there's nothing that's purely melee. Okay. I think the hunter gets a knife. I've been playing a warlock, and they have like this force attack, and you can actually once it levels up, you can drain energy from people when you attack and kill them, and it recharges your super moves faster. So it's pretty cool. The hunter has knives that they can throw, and the titan, they get like an electrified punch, so they can just do extra damage when they hit things.
Nice. That sounds really cool. Are there any instances, or is it all open world?
You have two choices. Or actually it's three choices. You can go into the game world, and they have specific missions where you have to go to this area, and you go through and do it, and you fight a boss. And they have open exploration where you can go everywhere that you want, and there's missions that are thrown out all over the place. So you can just go and find a comm relay, tap into it, and it gives you a mission to go over here, kill these, or go over here and just explore this, or get on top of this building to scout. Different things like that. And then they have of course there's PvP, and then they have these group missions called strikes, where it requires multiple people, and you have different objectives: a boss to kill or a relay station to defend. It's lots of fun, lots of fun.
Nice, nice. Well, did you get much Diablo in this week?
I did. That I did. What is it? I think all my weeks have been running together as of lately, but I finally got a Cinder Coat for my Demon Hunter, which was
Nice.
amazing.
How'd it
And
roll?
it was actually decent. It was Dex, Vitality. Unfortunately, it's only 15% fire damage, but it was 28% resource cost reduction and sockets. And it only took me one reroll to get 3 sockets on it, so that was always pleasant.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then 2.0.6, I played a couple of days when the patch came, or played for a couple hours when the patch came out, and the buff to the class drops is real, because only playing a few hours on Torment 1, I had Marauder's Helm and Jade Harvester's Marauder's Helm and Jade Harvester's shoulders drop, and then for some reason I still was just in force of habit. I logged onto my monk to waste all of my blood shards, and I got a Monkey King shoulders for my monk. So it was 3 set pieces in just a very small amount of time. So that is obscenely nice.
Nice. Were you able to catch Leviathan's stream this week with the devs?
I caught a little bit of it. I was late because they started their stream like right when I normally would be closing up the shop. So I caught like the last 25 minutes or so of it, and that was pretty cool. They dropped some little nuggets of information, which we can cover later on.
Yeah, yeah. There's a pretty cool list put together of all the things revealed from that stream.
Yeah, but how about you? How was your week in gaming?
I had a pretty eventful week in gaming. I decided to venture into hardcore, as I've been talking about, and yes, joining 9-ball and the likes. I dabble back and forth, but since I haven't been streaming, hardcore seemed to make more sense. When I'm streaming, I like to play softcore to play with viewers, but I've been missing hardcore. And after asking viewers, they said I should roll a Witch Doctor, and I think they're right, because Witch Doctors are pretty beefy right now.
Oh yeah, they are. I'm sure this isn't just in softcore, but I know just from running public games and hardcore, 3 out of the 4 classes are gonna have been Witch Doctors lately. I'll just join in as 3 Witch Doctors because they're so powerful. They're incredibly tanky, and the pet builds give you even more survivability and tons of damage, tons and tons of damage.
Yeah, I think ultimately I want to go pet build, but I've just been running this Acid Cloud build that I think we're going to show you guys a little bit later in the stream, but it's been helping me get through normal pretty quickly and stay safe. I was going to level all the way to 70 on my own. I had all the intentions. I was at level 34 when I started, and this Witch Doctor used to be MP10 self-found only. Back in the day. That's how I got to 34. And so I felt kind of cheap getting it power leveled, which is how I normally level. Because I'm a sellout. And but so I leveled like 20 levels. I went from 34 to 54, and then I remembered how long it takes to level a character, because it's been so long that I actually leveled without getting power leveled. And then to my rescue came my friend Mikey, and Mikey offered to level me to 70. So I took it. I took the lazy train up to 70, thanks to Mikey, and been farming some loot.
There's nothing lazy train about getting someone to help power level you in hardcore, because it's always happens. You always have to do it, so nothing bad about it.
Yeah, well, it is definitely nice being 70. Hey, Grimmaku stopped by. Welcome to stream, Grimmaku.
Hi.
And yeah, I've been enjoying the Witch Doctor. I can't wait to find some legendaries that actually cause me to change my build. But so far, I've been enjoying the Acid Cloud build. And watched a bit of E3 this week. Did you catch much of that?
I caught the synopsis of the major conferences. Kind of looked at that. Otherwise, I just looked up some of the stuff on Diablo and Destiny, and then that was it. I left the rest to just brush me over and pick up what people were talking about on Twitter.
Nice, nice. Yeah, day 1 of E3, had a little party over here, just like streamed it while we hung out. Watched the Smash Brothers tournament, because I'm a big Smash Brothers player. They brought Ken back. Ken was like the #1 player during the Melee tournaments for anyone who watched Smash Brothers back then, and he got obliterated. Just completely, he was out round one, and it was so sad for me. I guess that's what happens though when you match up the old players with the new players, they get wrecked. And same with
Yeah,
sports.
especially with video games, to a much higher degree, because if you don't practice, you drop so much. You think you remember, but it takes so much precision in a lot of those ones, especially with God Melee, with the whole like what do they call it when you can just
Oh,
do
wave
the
dashing.
infinite? Yeah, the wave dashing. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, yeah, Ken had the wave dash down, and now it's useless. It was
Yeah.
like watching Michael Jordan go up against LeBron. He had no chance.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is starting a whole nother conversation now, isn't it?
And I'm not the sports guy. I'm just throwing out things, but I'm pretty sure
Uh,
LeBron would take Michael Jordan. Not to say that he wasn't better in his time. I don't want to, but
mhm.
new
I
players, they have an advantage coming in later in the game.
Yeah, I am not that much of a sports person myself, but I just want to go out there and say the World Cup has started. And even though I don't really follow soccer, I have a lot of family in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands absolutely crushed Spain. They didn't even play another game because if you walk over someone 5-1 in soccer, that is ridiculous. Spain might as well pack its bags and go home. Just
you,
saying.
I don't
Vote
think
orange.
I don't think you really have to say you're not a big soccer fan. All you have to really say is that you're American.
There we go.
It's just redundant after that.
Uh-huh. And my family over in the Netherlands, they would fly over here and they would lynch me for not voting for the Dutch. So,
Seems like the rest of the world is all into soccer, and we're the ones that aren't.
yep.
I
But yeah,
didn't. Oh, I was saying I didn't get into Destiny Alpha, but I did get
uh,
into Hardline Beta, so I'm interested to try that out. It's the new Battlefield with cops and robbers. It looks
hmm
really cool.
yeah, that'll be very interesting. I know that created a lot of waves. A lot of people were talking more about that than Destiny, just because some of the criticisms that Destiny has been getting is it feels kind of aged because they're not really building much upon Halo.
Hmm. Does the
But
gameplay feel a lot like Halo?
it does. It really does.
That makes
It
sense.
Yeah, it's kind of got that slow, kind of floaty feeling when you're jumping. You literally can float now. When you double jump, it initiates gliders, and so you will just float because you have
Wow.
like a little tiny jetpack.
Hmm. Well, we got a lot of exciting news this week.
hmm
Should we can start off with that dev stream with Leviathan.
Yeah, we'll just work backwards. We can go through and do that.
That works, yeah.
Um, yeah, and of course, for those that don't know, Leviathan is a fellow BlizzPro staff member. He helps out a lot with some of the Diablo content, and he is the site manager over at our Hearthstone site, hearthstone.blizzpro.com. And he got to play with Travis Day and Nevalistis from Blizzard, as well as Monstrous, the forum MVP and also a contributor over at Diablo Fans, and they all played Crusaders. And the reason why they got to go through and play together is, every Thursday they have the Theorycraft Thursday that Nevalistis puts together, going and talking about a different build for a different class. And even though Leviathan didn't win, it was actually the Wizard build, I think it was, won, but there was a scheduling conflict and he couldn't stream. So Leviathan came in second, so Steven was the one that got to go and stream. And they all played Crusaders, different variations to kind of show off the build and to just talk about the game. And there's some really interesting things that got dropped.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, the stream was for the build, but
Mhm.
they talked enough about the game that we got some really interesting tidbits.
Oh yeah, they definitely threw in some like little information. They talked a lot about 2.1, and so let's just jump into that. Like they have some old legendaries that they're going to revamp in 2.1, but it won't be retroactive. So they'll change it. If you have the old one, unfortunately, it's still the old one, but it will be something new when you go through and drop it. And also, staying on the vein of items, they have class sets. There are going to be new class sets in 2.1 that will be ladder or season only, apparently.
Yeah, it looks like we're really getting a whole item revamp. This is it's
hmm
like the patch 1.0.4, but for Reaper of Souls.
Yeah, yeah, it
It's
really is. They're going to be doing tons of changes, and they dropped. Did you see the thing that they talked about with the legendary gems?
yeah. I love the idea of making them for rings and amulets specifically.
So it actually makes it because for those items, the socket weakens the item. Because even with a max flawless royal, you only get 250 of a stat, and that is nothing when the item itself can roll 500. You need at least 2 sockets to even get to the bare minimum. Otherwise, it's lesser than anything else. So them throwing legendary gems and giving them special effects for the rings and the amulets makes you want to have a socket on those pieces of gear. Which, if you don't mind me, I can rant a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Which I was okay with sockets on those pieces of gear because they were useless, because that meant it wasn't mandatory. Now they're making sockets mandatory on every single thing that they can roll on. and yet still they're keeping it as part of the affix system and not just making them separate. I really think that with this move and now making sockets mandatory on every single piece of gear that they just need to separate it from the items, remove it as an affix, and just make it as some other type of property for the item, because now you have to have it. If it doesn't have it, it's useless. And you're either going to take one of the other stats and re-roll it in enchanting, or if you can't re-roll the sockets because the other stats are bad, then it's just you're going to throw it away and keep going. They really just need to branch it out, make it something different.
That's some good criticism, and I think I had a similar feeling towards it. My first thought was, why not just put sockets on like bracers, or let them roll normally on belts or gloves or somewhere else where right now most players want the same stats. Like on your bracers, you want plus to your elemental damage, you want your main stat, you want crit chance, and then probably some survivability stat there. Maybe you want all res or vid or something, but for the most part, everyone wants the same bracers. Putting a socket on there will change it up a bit. But on the other hand, I think it depends on how they do the legendary gems, because if they make these legendary gems real game changers, if they make it like, this is going to change the style of your play, and they gave them not only a bonus to your character, but also some kind of penalty, it could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Especially if you couldn't stack the gems. For example, if one of the gems said your pets now do 50% more damage, but you personally do 50% less damage.
Yeah, there'd be interesting takeoffs. You kind of give and take a little bit.
Yeah, so I think I see where you're coming from. I think you make a good point, but I'm going to withhold judgment.
Yeah.
I want to see how they actually do the affixes on the gems before I say yay or nay to being only sockets on the rings and the ammies.
I'll let you cover the next topic real quick. I just give me 2 minutes.
No worries at all. Yeah, we had a huge list of stuff that came out from that live stream. But also, let's see, the devs are looking at new ways to handle the Infernal Machine. Right now, Infernal Machine, of course, is used for the Uber bosses, which can get you the Hellfire Ring. But right now, not many people do the Uber bosses, because once you get your Hellfire Ring, you don't really do them, and honestly, the Hellfire Ring isn't really worth it once you have good gear. I think the biggest problem is, once you get up to a high level, when you're doing the high torments, you get so much natural bonus to experience that an extra 45% isn't doing much. If you're playing on normal, sure, an extra 45% of experience, that's 45% experience. It's make a big difference. And if you're leveling a new character, it's always going to be a good item to have. But once you have one, there's not a good reason to do the Ubers, and a lot of people don't feel the need to get one at all. So I'm glad that they're redoing that. I think that the Uber bosses, there's some good content there. Uber Diablo just recently added. It was a really fun fight. I think the most fun Uber fight. And if we had some more uses for Ubers, I think it would be pretty awesome. They also talked about the Hellfire Amulet. So you guys all know Hellfire Ring. It's what you got from killing the Ubers in both Vanilla and Rebirth Souls. Hellfire Amulet is brand new, and it looks like it's going to unlock a random passive that's class specific. So I like this idea a lot more than the Hellfire Ring. Hellfire Ring, of course, very standard stats, giving that experience boost, and then just an all-around good crafted legendary. But Hellfire Amulet looks like it could be a total game changer. Class specific, some kind of passive. I just hope they're powerful. I mean, it's hard to balance something like that, because if you make it too powerful, of course, then people feel like they need to have the Hellfire Amulet. Welcome back, Nineball. We were just talking about the Hellfire Amulet. You're still muted, I think. Or at least I can't hear you. But, no, I can't. That's so weird. I don't know what's going on there. But, yeah, I still can't. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's coming through my OBS. But, oh, there we are. Yes. Welcome back.
Okay. All right.
Hellfire Amulet. I was saying that, apparently it'll give you a passive based on your class, and it sounds like it'd be really powerful, but of course, if they make it too powerful, then you're going to feel forced into having the Hellfire Amulet. So,
Which, that I have no problem with because,
really?
yeah, because even if it gives you just a random passive and becomes incredibly powerful, overpowered, and that everyone has to go through and use this, not everyone might use it because the amulet is the one socket that you can equip something that reduces elemental damage. It gives you your elemental absorb, which you have a significant choice. There are two incredibly powerful items that you could put in there. Either a passive that increases your defense or offensive capabilities, or something that's going to make you immune to a single type of damage. And when you're trying to clear, say, tiered rifts on Torment 6, whether hardcore or softcore, you have to worry about your survivability a little bit. And that is going to make an interesting decision in how you gear your character.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess if they made it like incredibly hard to get the amulet, I'd be all for that. I know, but I mean, it does kind of diminish the value of all the other amulets in the game, I suppose. If the Hellfire Amulet is the endgame amulet that everyone's just working towards, all the other amulets just kind of feel like placeholders on the way.
Yeah, I mean that is true, but like worst case scenario, that will just turn into the current situation with rings. Everyone equips the Stone of Jordan, and then everyone else, either equips, a Ring of Royal Grandeur in your second slot in order to get, stack multiple set bonuses. And, that's just in game.
I think that is how it is. I don't think it's a great situation though.
Yeah, and until they make other things like more class sets that might also use the amulet or the ring slots with equally overpowered set bonuses, is going to be an awkward position. Because there are certain item slots that just like this one item is best in slot, it's overpowered, it's better than everything else, so everyone's going to use it. So
no, yeah.
If it's going to be that situation anyways, I'd rather the Hellfire Amulet be that one instead of the Hellfire Ring, which just you have to put in so much time and effort, and then it's not that great. It's not. No one really cares about grinding experience anymore, so that bonus isn't all that powerful, and the proc itself, while nice, it can't compete with like a Stone of Jordan. So,
no, definitely.
you put all the time and effort for nothing really. And so if you want to put all that grinding and all those Ubers and you should get a reward, and that reward should be something that is just ridiculous, and that's a nice one to have if it's an overpowered amulet.
Yeah, I agree. Can't wait to see what kind of stats they have on there. Well, I think the next point that they mentioned on the dev stream was tiered rifts not being static, that the tiered rifts will actually be random. I think this is different from the last time they talked about this, right?
Yeah, because that was one of the things, I believe it was Wyatt at the launch party, was talking about, that they'd be the same. So within that season, the tiered rift would always be the same. So that way you could actually have some semblance of, competitiveness that, you had the same spawns, the same enemies, the same layout, so you could practice and you could get better and better and better and refine your build. But now it's going to be random, and they're just reducing the randomness. Will they keep the same layout? I don't know. They didn't really talk about that too much, but they definitely shrines are going to be randomized, which is kind of like, what?
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, that definitely is scary.
Yeah, and then they talked about reducing the power of the conduit pylon, so that you can't just get super lucky and plow your way through a rift.
Yeah, because for that one, they specifically, Travis went and said they're doing that. So the difference between the fastest clear time and the second fastest clear time isn't because that guy got a conduit shrine.
Yeah, but let's be honest. The difference between the fastest and the second fastest is probably going to be luck based, right?
Some of it, yeah.
I mean, it just seems like. I mean, this seems like a change tailored to casual players, which I don't think you can blame Blizzard for. Most of their players are
Hmm.
casual players, but it's just taking the game and adding a little bit of luck to it, and that's totally fine. I think it's good for players who never felt like they were going to be on the top to just have this feeling like, well, if one of these times I get lucky, I can beat my high score.
Hmm.
Gives you some incentive to keep running it and hoping to get a little bit luckier. But I can imagine a little bit of backlash from the hardcore players who really want it to be an accurate test of how good you are and the best you can do compared to other people in the exact same situation.
Yeah, that is definitely what I was expecting and something that I would like to have seen, even as someone that's not going to really be able to compete with the best of the best. But it looks like that decision's already kind of been made for the first season. Maybe if we give enough feedback, going forward with the PTR and throughout all of season one, maybe it's something that we could get changed.
Yeah, I guess we'll just see how it works in the PTR. It looks like we could be getting that any Tuesday now.
Yeah, any Tuesday. I like that.
Any
Not any
given
day, but
Tuesday.
any Tuesday.
Any Tuesday now. I mean, Josh Mosquera did say 2.1 PTR is coming soon, kind of like summer.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Does that mean that it's coming around the same? I looked way too into it. I think I looked up. Okay, when does summer start? Is that on a Not on a Tuesday. Turns out.
Yeah, I think you and probably half of the Diablo community went and looked up when does summer
Just
start.
Google. 'Cause we don't
And
know. We don't know these things that we should have learned in second grade.
yeah, well, hell, in Florida, I have no seasons. Every day besides 2 weeks in like January is summer. Um, it goes from 90 degrees, drops to 75 for 2 weeks, and then goes back up to 90. So,
So
um,
2.1 PTR has been out for a while in Florida now.
yeah, pretty much. As I have no idea what a season even is. We have a cold front, and that is the seasons in Florida. Um,
Well, yeah. So I think if it comes out around summer, it'll be this coming Tuesday or the Tuesday after, because summer starts in between those two Tuesdays.
yeah, so let's hope for next Tuesday.
Yeah. Although
Let's hope for
Josh
next.
Mosquera has gained a reputation for accidentally giving hints that aren't real now. He's just
Yeah,
so vague with his posts.
he's never ever teased us before with anything.
Always getting our hopes up. Such a
Although
tease.
I have to admit, I laughed for like a solid minute when he posted the picture from E3 on his Twitter.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah,
He's getting good with those ladder
yeah,
pictures.
yeah, that he is. Ladders confirmed at E3.
I just imagine Josh Mosquera just walking around wherever he goes, like, ooh, a ladder. They're gonna love this.
Grimiku, if you're still in the chat channel, I want you to deliver a message to Josh for me. Never stop doing what you're doing, man. Never stop doing what you're doing. I want to see more ladders.
All the ladders in the world are belong to Josh's Twitter page.
Yep.
He's good. Well, I like the way they're doing loot in the tiered rifts. They hadn't announced it until this stream, but I guess the mobs won't drop loot, only the bosses will. And I assume that's to keep people from just farming the rift part of the rifts before they can do them. It's like you really only get the reward if you can clear the rift. So no loot from the mobs, and then the bosses just drop a ton of loot with a high chance of legendaries, gems, crafting plans, and so on, says these notes I'm reading from. I think that's a cool way to do it. And I think it'll feel really fun because I guess another advantage of this is you're not slowing down your tiered rift completion time by picking up loot.
Yeah.
You can just focus on killing mobs as fast as possible and worry about the loot after the rift is complete.
Yeah, that is definitely nice, but then that does call into question how that's going to tie into what we talked about last week with Rifted Forward. Because if it wasn't exploitive enough,
But
this
these are
is
just
just
tiered
calling.
rifts, though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if it's tiered rifts and they're going to drop a ton of loot just for the boss, that's going to make people have even more incentive of just doing that. The runners are going to dry up, and then the openers are going to increase tenfold because no one wants to clear through because you get absolutely nothing for clearing through all the mobs besides experience, which most people don't care about.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I wonder how that'll affect group play. I mean, they could make it, if it became an issue, so that the lower tiered rifts give just really bad loot.
Yeah.
And that if you
Or
progress high enough, you can get, your money's worth.
one question that I have: are tiered rifts going to be solo?
I guess I was under the impression that you would have the option to solo or group play. I couldn't imagine them blocking out one of the options, and
Yeah.
that there would be separate leaderboards for each. But now that I think about it, I don't think they've actually announced it.
Hmm. Well, actually, what is it? Thunder there in chat is saying that specifically it was you got loot from everything that had been killed in the dungeon prior. Now I wonder if they can actually keep track of that. Oh, um, if they can actually keep track of that, does that actually mean that you only get all those drops if you are participating in the kills of those mobs? Because if that's the case, then that would solve the entire problem.
Yeah.
That you actually had to clear through the entire rift and then you got rewarded for everything that you killed. And if you just kind of join the rift and are hanging back in town, you don't get anything either.
Yeah, it seems like, assuming that there's some kind of tracking mechanism already in place to show who's contributed how much, there's probably several ways the Blizzard could go about balancing it to keep people from taking advantage of that. But maybe it'll fix itself. I mean, are there really going to be people who are willing to clear the whole rift and then bring in 3 people just to get them the loot? I mean,
Yeah.
I could see it giving an advantage to communities that were really organized.
Yeah. I mean, there could definitely be incentive just for the person that's going through and clearing, because if they keep that rifted forward, mindset that you go through, you clear it, they jump in, they help you kill the boss, and then one of them has to use one of their tiered keys to open up the next tier or to reopen the tiered rift itself, then that would give, incentive to keep that dynamic between the runners and openers.
Yeah, that's a good point. It'll probably depend on the drop chance of the next tiered rift key.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Although what am I talking about? Once you complete tiered rift tier 1, then it's 100% drop chance for every tier above that, right?
Oh, obviously.
Yes, sorry. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But it looks like they have multiple options on how to keep that from being exploited.
Hmm.
This was really interesting to me. The notes also include that Kadala is supposed to have a much more positive attitude, as worded by Diablo fans. I haven't seen all the stream yet, but apparently she's supposed to say more things.
Yeah, this one I caught on part of the stream, and this one kind of excites me because it's a semi lore related, but then it also aggravates me because of lore reasons. But anyways, it's just um, her just being kind of like the cold, sarcastic woman that begrudgingly gives you legendaries is actually a bug, and they didn't discover this apparently until like last week or the week before that, when they were tweaking her so that way she would play a sound when you got a legendary, because they had some colorblind people on the staff that had a hard time recognizing when they got a legendary item when they were buying mass things from Kadala. And so they're going to add an audio cue to it, in order to make it just more recognizable. And then when someone was going in and changing that code, they realized, oh my God, she has all these additional lines of dialogue that are never got entered in or just aren't activated. And it's apparently when you only get the nice paperweight when you get a blue, which is rare, and she'll actually comment, "Oh, that's a nice item," when you get a rare, and she'll get excited when you have a legendary and be like, "Could I buy that back?" So she actually was a lot more engaging. It was a nice person, which is awesome, because they add a little bit of depth to the character. But then on the other side, she is the daughter of Geed. She is supposed to be sarcastic and an asshole. Period. That is the Geed line. That's it. End of story. So that's both being excited and disappointed at the same time.
Well, yeah, it looks like at least the sound cue will be helpful, but
Hmm.
at least she'll be a little bit more dynamic. She's just on autopilot right now. She seems like a robot, kind of automaton.
Yeah.
The one other thing that I thought was worth mentioning from the stream was that they are working on a new Crusader set that will buff either Phalanx or Shield Bash.
Yeah. I'm not sure the wording on that one. Because that was when I kind of jumped in and was listening on the stream. It sounded more like they had the idea to create a Crusader set that was focused around melee, like with Shield Bash and such, to get you in the thick of things and make Shield Bash do ridiculous damage. That sound more like a concept than one that's actually coming in 2.1. It wasn't the way that they were talking about it made it seem as if it was one they were thinking about or one that they wanted to do, not one that was specifically, this is the item set for Crusaders in 2.1. But I'd have to go back and watch it when the VOD gets released to say for certain.
All
Maybe
right.
Geed was bugged too. Grimiku? Seriously. Maybe Geed was bugged.
Yeah, this whole time, Geed was a very cheerful, friendly guy, very encouraging. It was a bug that made you think he was sarcastic and cold.
Yep, Grimiku is just going through and he's just, letting the cat out of the bag. D2 has had this massive game-changing bug for the past 14 years. You heard it here first. Geed was actually bugged. He was a very nice person. You just didn't get those lines of dialogue.
It's official news.
Heard it here first.
You did hear
Is
it.
9ball a D3 developer? I am not. I am a person that talks on the internet.
We just make stuff up, and sometimes people believe us.
Yep.
Really weird situation. But and Grimku also mentioned that he's hoping to catch our episode after 2.1 PTR drops.
That will probably be like 2 weeks afterwards because we'll be playing 2.1
Yeah,
PTR
right. I think Grimmiku has some inside knowledge. He wants to see our reaction to this tiered rift system.
Uh-huh.
But we did get a patch this week.
Yeah, that we did. Though I want to make one more mention of one of the things talked about in the stream. And I don't know if you mentioned this when I was gone. Did you talk about the Cinder Coat?
No, yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. Everyone knows the Cinder Coat, probably one of the most sought after chess pieces besides sets in the game. And it blows everything else out of the water, and the only reason why you don't use the Cinder Coat is specifically because you need to use a chess piece in order to complete your set bonuses, and you don't have a Ring of Grandeur so for you to use the Cinder Coat if your class is built around one of the fire builds. Apparently, it was even more powerful internally when they were originally developing it, and it makes perfect sense because Travis went on to say that Don Vu was the person that was in charge of creating it. So he made it obscene, and I was watching that, and I was like, I am not surprised that Don would be the one responsible for creating. Yeah, he would just go balls to the wall and just create this thing that's so obscene.
Did they explain how it was better?
I think it was just something along the lines of like it could roll up to 50% fire damage. It was just ridiculous.
Well, probably a good thing they scaled it back. That seems to be causing some balance issues just in the state it's in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't want to see the Cinder Coat nerfed. I'd like to see the other items brought up to it because it's an awesome item, and I'd like to see more options like that.
Yeah, and it looks like they said they have no plans to nerf it. It looks like they are fully planning on just buffing legendaries overall in 2.1.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get a small patch this week that I think monks have been. It was like a little tease for monks, right?
Oh, I think it was a cruel tease. It was a cruel tease.
It's like, hey, monks, we're going to give you something. Not what you want, but it's something.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of what they wanted. That's what makes it cruel. It's just a little tiny bit. They changed the passive around. And this kind of builds off of some of the comments that were made over the past week. Is that and they used the Witch Doctor as an example. I think, was it actually Grimiku? I think it was you that was posting this, or maybe it was Nevelistus. I'm trying to remember now. They're talking about using the Witch Doctor, that the Witch Doctor has a variety of builds because of their items, not so much because of their class. And they want to move all the classes more in that direction by, fixing balance issues through items instead of through skill changes.
Yes.
And this one was kind of it looks like a little bit of experimentation. So they did some changes to the monk sets, but no real changes to the monk skills. That's not to say that they're not going to change them. I'm sure they're going to get plenty of skill love in 2.1, but they just change some things around to make some of their weaker sets actually intriguing and make you want to try and equip them.
Yeah. So do you want to go into the changes specifically?
Sure. Obviously, the only real thing that they did for monks themselves is they fixed a bug for Pillar of the Ancients, and then they buffed Momentum, one of the passive skills. It used to give a 15% damage bonus for 4 seconds if you had moved a minimum of 30 yards. Now it's only 25 yards, so 20% damage bonus, and it lasts for 6 seconds. So minor tweaking, but the big changes came in the first one, the Monkey King Garb. They changed the 4-piece set bonus. It used to be that if you spent, I believe it was for every 100 spirit you spent, it did an explosion around you for 100% weapon damage, and it had a 1-second internal cooldown. Now it explodes for 1,600% weapon damage, has a half-second cooldown, and there is also a bug that they corrected that would reset the counter if you picked up an item.
Oh, so just a little tweak, just a little, maybe
minor,
20 times as good.
Minor, yeah. So it's just it's just like a little change like that, and all of a sudden it becomes useful, and it makes you something like Wave of Light, which is an amazing item, or amazing skill by itself because it does a ton of damage, but it's a heavy spirit spender, and it's not 100 spirit, 75 spirit. Just went through and looked that up. So it makes, like, if you cast Wave of Light, that's 75 spirit. You drop that, you're already hitting for 800% weapon damage and another 1600% weapon damage on top of that, all from just one skill. So it makes that pretty impressive.
That is really crazy. I mean, was anyone really going for a Monkey King's Garb before this?
Not really, because I mean it was just you spend 75 spirit, you do 100% weapon damage.
Yeah.
Who cares? That literally is like a who cares, and that kind of goes in line with a lot of the complaints. Is a monk is fine on normal, monk is fine on Torment 1, monk has damage problems in Torment 6, and they're kind of relegated to just playing that support build and buffing everybody else's damage, or doing the majority of their DPS just through exploding palm. The actual explosions scale with the monster hit points, and that's scaled better than their damage up into the higher difficulty levels. And so this, kind of answers that. Instead of doing a piddly 100% weapon damage, which isn't going to do anything to something in Torment 6, even a white mob, but 1600% weapon damage, now you're talking about some significant figures. And that's actually going to be something that you can notice when you're going and playing at the higher difficulties.
Yeah. It looks like they made a similar change to another monk set as well, right?
Yeah, it's more or less the same thing. The Remnant of 1,000 Storms was kind of a lightning-themed set. Since the monks had tons of lightning-based skills, it only made sense, especially in Diablo 3 Classic. Your cookie cutter monk build was all lightning. You had Cyclone and you had Fist of Thunder, Thunderclap. I almost forgot what it was for the skill build that I used for 2 years straight. But yeah, it's the ability itself triggers when you use Dashing Strike. They changed the 6-piece bonus around. It triggers when you use Dashing Strike now, and it used to do 100% weapon damage. Now it does 3,000% weapon damage.
Yeah, a little
30
times buff there.
Yep. And now they also made it so it can crit, and they increase the radius, or they decrease the radius for 20 yards to 15 yards to kind of compensate just a little bit. And apparently, it also had a target cap. It could only hit up to 6 targets, so it was 100% damage. And the way that is, I should also go back and clarify. It used to do damage whenever you teleported to an enemy. So if you had like Thunderclap, which would teleport you over to a mob. When you use the skill, or when you were using Epiphany, every attack that you use under Epiphany teleports you to the mob, it would do 100% weapon damage around 20 yards, which could, if you have Epiphany and you're popping back and forth between multiple mobs, that can rack up, but still it's 100% weapon damage. It doesn't mean a lot at Torment 6. Now it procs only off of Dashing Strike, and I I've not seen it in use since the patch. I believe that it only does the 3,000% weapon damage when you end your dashing strike. Maybe Grimiku, if he's still there, could chime in. I'm not sure. I don't think that it actually applies the damage to everything within 15 yards as you dash through the mobs. So it was, you just kind of teleport, you appear, and do 3,000% weapon damage to everything around you, and you're able to do that pretty quickly, since dashing strike has a relatively small cooldown. You can stack up multiple charges, so it's literally like just boom. You stack on a little bit of cooldown reduction there, and it's practically infinite.
Yeah, well, either way, it seems like a big buff, and I'm definitely a big fan of this change towards balancing through items instead of balancing through class changes, because no one likes to see their character get all switched around. This way, it still solves the problem, but it solves it in a more fun way. You get to go and find the balance instead of just logging on to see your character changed instantly.
Yep. The only problem, I'm just going to throw out the negative that I see in it. The only problem with that is that it fixes the problem, but in a very targeted, focused way. So like these ones, the Monkey King's garb is a bit more general because it works off of just spirit spenders, and you're going to be having a spirit spender in almost any build that you have as a monk. So that's nice and generic. But then the one with the Remnant of 1,000 Storms, that only fixes it if you use Dashing Strike, and kind of makes it now you'll have the support monk, and then you might have like the Dashing Strike if that ends up being viable at Torment 6 with that huge buff, which I don't play a monk. I've not really been reading on it, so I don't know if that has fixed a lot of their issues at Torment 6. But I definitely hope to look into that, or maybe even get feedback if you guys send us some emails of what your experiences are past 2.0.6 with your monk, if you have that set and you've been testing it out, and see how it works.
That's a good point. To have a 6-piece set focused around one skill is pretty extreme. I guess
it's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I should finish that thought. That it's not bad. Having a 6-piece set bonus that focuses around one skill is awesome, but you can't go through and say that class is now viable because of that 6-piece set bonus. You still have to fix the base class and kind of help monks out across the board with their damage dealing capabilities. You bring them up to a certain level, and so that way they can pick different sets, whether they want to use this set or that set, or do I even want to use this set at all and just go for all of these unique properties and this combination that works really well between legendaries.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess we'll just have to see how many legendaries they're adding to the game. I think if they add enough, they really could fix them solely through legendaries, but it might take a lot of items to really get to the point where monks feel like they can not only be on par with the other classes, but have a lot of choices that are on par with the other classes.
Yeah.
And that was really the bulk of this patch was monks, but we did get a few small changes to crafting as well. It looks like they're really getting rid of or going away from unique crafting materials.
Yeah, and this was one that also got touched on a bit on the stream. Travis went into some of the mentality behind it, is that it created more problems than it fixed. And even though it was nice from a kind of like a grand perspective, or nice from a flavor standpoint, that it just didn't work out. It took people away from different types of gameplay, and it didn't really solve it if you were a new player trying to get into Torment, because you'd have to go through, and you'd have to get the plan, and then after that you'd have to go and grind with relatively low drop rate against particular mobs, and you'd have to flip games in order to try and get it, and then you spend all this time going through. You spent 30 games trying to get just one item off of a mob. You finally get it, and then your next game you get an upgrade drop or a set piece that then replaces it, and all that time that you spent was useless.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I mean, crafting has been a real challenge for them to balance, but as much as I love the idea behind unique items, being able to farm for specific pieces, it makes sense. You don't want crafting to be a drag. I mean, really, I think like the best part of the game that crafting satisfies is filling a slot that you just can't find a good piece for.
Yeah, and I mean, there's different things to look at. Like Ogchiles is a good example of how crafting can be useful, because that's something that a lot of people use for entering into tier 6 or to supplement their tier 6 play, just because it provides pretty decent survivability as well as very good offensive buffs against elites. So it's not so much best in slot, but a lot of people use it to fill in if they don't need those slots for other pieces, for a particular set for their build. So I think that's a good example of what you can do with crafting, is you can make certain little niche items that are fill-in. This will literally help you get to the next level until you can find something better.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're actually getting a lot of questions from chat. I think we're getting some new viewers coming into the stream here, and maybe we can actually get to some of those. But for the most part, we're going to be running through what we had prepared, but I saw some interesting questions there. The one other thing that I wanted to mention from the patch notes was that they added the bonus that you have to elemental types and specific skills to your character sheet, which I've been hoping they would do for a while now. It's nice to be able to just see, oh, that's how much plus fire damage I have.
The next step is to build that into the tooltip for the skill.
Yes. And I thought I knew what you were going to say. That's an important step, but I think I would also just love to see the auto calculation. What's my damage if I'm only using fire skills?
Yeah, that would also be another awesome one. But I think if they just take the next step, take all those modifiers and then just put it into your tooltip, so the skill tooltip will scale. I have 50% fire damage and 50% cluster arrow damage. How much is my cluster arrow now doing? I want to see that.
Yeah.
So that's the next level. I know you could do it. I know they don't want to do it. I know you can do it, Blizzard. I have faith in you.
I think there's this desire to keep the game simple and not be too mathy. You don't want to turn off certain players, but yeah, I think if they could find a way to do it where it was easy to understand, where players could see, okay, this is how much the skill originally did. It's doing more for these reasons. If the devs could find a really good way to work that into the UI, I think it could be really useful to some of us players who just don't feel like getting out the Excel spreadsheet and figuring out how much damage you're really doing.
Yeah, and I know Danny here is going through and talking in chat that he put together a spreadsheet that will help put that together for you, but I don't want to tab out of the game to do it. Because that removes me from the game. Even though he has a spreadsheet, there's a bunch of other ones that have damage calculators out there. I don't want to have to leave the game to find out this information. If this was, say, World of Warcraft or something that allowed mods, this is something that would have been addressed by the community, and they would have put together a mod or an add-on that would reflect that in the tooltips. But we don't have that, and so we have to rely entirely upon Blizzard. And this is something that the community has been asking for a very long time, and the dev team has been very resistant or hesitant to do. I think it's just, you gave us advanced tooltips, and that's nice over the basic ones, but you have to give up, and you just have to give us what we want. I know it's definitely something, if they go through and do that, our tiered rifts in the next season are going to be one less because they had to devote development time to the tooltips instead of developing a whole new mechanics for a dungeon or whatever. That is fine. I am okay with that. I want updated tooltips. I'm done ranting. I'm sorry.
No, I know how you feel. I don't think players are going to be fully satisfied unless we have a fully functional damage meter. Like, there's always going to be some kind of data that we want and we can't get access to, partly because of the lack of add-on functionality.
Yeah, and that, I guess, I'm not done ranting yet. That kind of comes through with a post World of Warcraft world, where they just World of Warcraft was one of those first games when add-ons and I don't want to say mods, but add-ons became like a necessary component. And then now every MMO you have to allow add-ons in order to allow people to go through and develop stuff, because it fills in things that the developers don't have time to do or didn't know needed to be addressed. And so if it makes up for a lack of time or development effort or something that the developers not might not have foreseen that the community would want or need based on how their game plays. And it's a nice little thing that the community can address, things that are kind of missing from the base UI that kind of need to be added, and they can then over time be developed into the base game. World of Warcraft has done that, many times over the years, adding little tiny elements that someone did as a mod. They just made part of the UI, so you don't need a mod anymore in order to do that. And lots of games support that, and it's now something in a type of RPG game that people just expect a little bit. And so that's why there's so much of a draw on people saying, why don't we have add-ons?
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, I think more than anything it has to do with Diablo being a casual game. They want the experience to be easy to jump into. They want everyone to have the same UI to work with. They don't want people to have an advantage over the others. It's not a game like WoW where you have the hardcore scene that really needs the tracking to be able to play efficiently and progress. But yeah, I can admit I'm spoiled from add-ons, and I would love it if they added them into D3.
Yeah.
But rhymes with D3 is E3.
There we go.
And how about that for a transition? We also had E3 this week and got some cool announcements. And I already gave my opinion on YouTube, but I would love to hear your opinion on this The Last of Us Nephilim Rift and the Shadow of the Colossus Transmog set.
I probably hinted at it a little bit earlier in the podcast, but I played a ton of The Last of Us, and so I am excited to see that. And I might actually pick up the console version for nothing else than to just go around and wreck clickers like no tomorrow. And it's like the shoe's on the other foot now. I'm coming for you. It's like, we'll see. I'll melee you to death this time. I will freaking just throw down, unequip my bow, put on a dagger, and just go to town on clickers with my demon hunter. Just saying that this is something I have wanted to do for a year and just hack them to bits. Not frustrated, not angry in any way, shape, or form. No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know...
Reining it in.
Right. For anyone who doesn't know, they announced, I guess, right before E3, that they're going to add a little bit of cross-promotion, I guess, for being honest. You can do a Nephilim Rift that has the zombies from The Last of Us. And you also, only on the PlayStation 4, can get a transmog set that looks like a set from Shadow of the Colossus. And this is really cool. I gotta be honest, I was nerding out about the Last of Us Nephilim Rift. I can't wait to get in there, but I feel like maybe I'm just being a hipster, but I feel like a little bit of a sellout, like getting excited for this. Like, I mean, if we take enough steps back, this is really like a bunch of guys in suits being like, hey, we'll promote your game if you promote our game, or give us some kind of deal, right? Like, there was a deal, there was money involved. That's what this is really about. People knew this could sell some more copies, and they snuck it in there. I mean, not to belittle anyone's excitement about it.
Man, why you gotta kill the movie?
No, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That's why I was interested to hear your opinion. I want to know if anyone else feels like kind of like a pawn giving into this. And I'll admit, I fully gave into it. I'm really excited about it, but I feel a little bit like I was used. Maybe it's just me.
I don't care. I get to kill an army of clickers.
Okay.
I get to kill. If anyone's ever played The Last of Us, you'll know that feeling, especially if you played it on what was it, Survivor, the hardest difficulty.
I played it on easy mode, and I didn't even get all the way through it. But it was too much movie, and it makes sense that you would get into it. You being the lore guy, me being the guy that cares none about lore. I played through half of that game and still couldn't tell you much that happened. And if I did, I would spoil it for people watching, so I won't. But I really, I just zone out during cinematics. And I don't know. Yeah.
It makes me feel a little bit better that it's not just Diablo's story that puts you to sleep. It's just every story.
No, yeah, Diablo has a great story. It's just, you know what? Like, if I'm in, movie watching mode, I'm ready for lore, obviously. But when I sit down to play a video game, I have a one-track mind, and that's how can I play this as efficiently as possible. Cinematics are just slowing me down.
Yeah. Oh well. I
Is
get
what
to
it
kill
is.
clickers. That end of story.
No,
Next topic.
that might bring me back to console. I'll admit, I'll sell out. I'll kill some clickers.
Uh-huh. I definitely will. I'm buying it just for that reason. Blizzard, your promotion worked. You and Naughty Dog, you did a naughty thing, and I am buying into it.
And you got us, yeah. Well, it looks like chat is both ways. Some chat is agreeing with you, and some chat's with me. So it makes me feel a little bit better that I'm not the only
Mm.
one. But yeah, we got people on both sides. Pretty interesting here on the
Yeah.
live stream. Was there any other news we want to talk about before we go into our community section?
I think that covers like the really big points as far as news goes. Is just there's the patch. There was the stream, and they talked a lot about the 2.0.1. And then I think the only other thing is there was both in the patch and I believe in a hot fix after the patch. There's a bunch of broken achievements, and they should all be fixed now. That's pretty much I think the last like little bit of info that came out from this past
Oh
week.
yeah. Oh, and same with the Witch Doctor damage, right? Plus the Locust Swarm and Haunt will now appropriately be applied to the skills.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, well, we have already gone on quite a long. We had a lot of news this week, but we also have a lot of community feedback. So let's get right into it. And actually, maybe before we get into that, we'll go through our build of the week.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so as I told you guys, I've been leveling a hardcore Witch Doctor. Witch Doctors are super OP right now, so why not? And they are pretty good for hardcore. Hardcore, of course, a nice change of pace if you're getting a little burnt out of softcore. I enjoy playing both, but this is the build I used to level. It was a really nice leveling build, especially if you're just a coward like I am on hardcore, and you want to go easy mode. You don't want to have to worry about dying. You just want to be efficient, which of course means you're playing on normal. Playing on normal until maybe you can get the gear for Torment 1, but if you want a good normal build, you have more toughness and damage than you need, and you just want to face roll some monsters without worrying about dying, I think this is a good build. Now, I haven't looked up much Witch Doctor builds, so maybe I'll find something cool, but this is working really well for me, and it all has to do with Acid Cloud. This is about one-shotting white mobs, maybe like 5-10 shotting elites, mostly with Acid Cloud. So it has to do a lot with movement and with keeping your mana up. You have Poison Dart on there with Spine Dart. That's just to get some mana back. You can put anything on there, really. I was stacking a little bit of poison damage because of Acid Cloud. But you could put really any primary skill there. Acid Cloud, of course, you have on there. Acid Rain is what I was using to increase the area, but if you wanted to, you could put on, Slow Burn if you were on a higher difficulty, or Corpse Bomb if you just wanted to get some more damage.
Corpse Bomb's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Corpse Bomb. Yeah, now I did tailor the build mostly to low level, and that's part of the reason why I chose Acid Rain on there. You could use the build on the screen right now at level 37, but Corpse Bomb is a really nice option once you get to level 55. I'll come back to Big Bed Voodoo. Spirit Walk is mostly for movement, but I put Honored Guest on there to get some of your mana back. And of course, Spirit Walk I think is a must on almost any hardcore build, just to be able to escape some damage, get out of Waller, get out of any situation you don't want to be in, really. Zombie Dogs and Gargantuan are there, partly because I want to go pet build, but also just because they're nice skills to have if you are focused on... this is really a one-skill build. Focus on Acid Cloud, don't want to have to worry about other skills getting in the way. Summons do their own thing without you having to cast anything.
Yeah, and they provide a buffer between you and the mobs.
Yeah, true story. I mean, I think almost any hardcore Witch Doctor is going to be having their Dogs and Gargantuan out as a wall. And I put on Lifelink to absorb some more damage. Gargantuan has Humongoid on it, and that's just because it's the low-level version. You might want to use Big Stinker if you're stacking acid or poison damage, or really whatever one you want. Relentless Giant might be the only one I would say stay away from. And then the passives, you can really switch it up. I have Spirit Vessel on there just because it's on every hardcore build I make for the Witch Doctor. And then the other two are good for the build. They're really they're lower level skills. Oh, and by the way, Spirit Vessel brings you back to life if you die. For anyone who doesn't know, Grues
It is like one of the go-to ones if you're playing hardcore, which he is.
Yeah, a little second chance there. And Gruesome Feast is really nice if you're on lower levels. You're killing stuff really quickly, which means you're getting a lot of health globe. And Gruesome Feast will give you some mana and temporary int every time you pick up the health globe, stacking up to 5. Spiritual Attunement is just giving you some extra mana, but as you move up higher levels, you might want to try some other ones. Grave Injustice at level 50 will give you 1% of your life and mana and reduce the cooldowns of all your skills by 1 second when you kill someone, and you're killing people really fast. So Grave Injustice is great for normal difficulty. Fierce Loyalty is good just for getting around. It increases your movement speed when you're out of combat. Gives you another zombie dog, which you're using. Rush of Essence will give you 100 mana when you use Spirit Walk, amongst other spells. Vision Quest will give you mana regeneration, 30% mana regeneration after using Poison Dart or whatever other primary you're using. There's really a lot of passives you could put on here. These are just some lower level ones that worked out pretty well. But overall, yeah, it helps you get around really quickly, and you're just spamming Acid Cloud. And it's the fastest way I've found to clear normal on a Witch Doctor. And yeah, it seems like if you're wanting to level a new Witch Doctor, or you have a max level Witch Doctor wanting to play on normal, especially if you're playing hardcore, this seems like a good build.
Yeah, and I just have to say, throw in there that whenever I'm leveling my Witch Doctor or leveling up a new Witch Doctor, I typically tend to go straight for Acid Cloud myself, just for the fact that it one-shots white mobs. If you have a high-level Ruby in there, you just run around just dropping clouds of acid, watching everything burn away.
Yeah, it's nice. You don't have to be close to the enemies to hit them with it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I said I'd be back to Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. Really, you could put anything there, and I added the daddy part because it makes it sound a little better. But you really, I had big.
Also, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy is an awesome band.
It is. It's an awesome swing band. That's why. Yeah, it just came out. But I played around with a lot of different skills there. I ended up with that one just because when I would get to an elite pack or a purple mob, I would run out of mana really quickly and have to cast a lot of Poison Dart. It was just nice to have that there whenever there's an elite pack, and especially if on top of that you're using Grave Injustice, you could use Big Bad Voodoo a lot because you're getting your cooldown down really quickly. But yeah, that was the build I had this week. I think I'm going to be playing some more of the Witch Doctors, so hopefully I'll get some new game-changing legendaries and can come up with some new fun builds.
Yeah, because that's definitely one of those ones is the items that you find kind of dictate your build, and you go from there to try and farm more to get to the build that you want to play.
Yeah. And Phone Book has been talking this whole time about Whirlwind Barbs.
The entire time.
The entire time, from the beginning of the podcast. Really needs that Whirlwind Barb, and it might be, I think it's safe to say that Barb is the class that the two of us are least familiar with.
True story.
So I apologize. Like, collectively we have a good amount of experience, I think, with every other class. Barb is the one that's furthest away from us, but from what I can tell, people are still using the Whirlwind Barb build.
Yeah, I know that one in the beginning, that one was really popular and kind of took off, though I don't know what its effectiveness was in Tier 6, because this was, shortly after Reaper had launched, and everyone now is talking about, like, the Leap Quake Barb, and that seems to be what everyone is going towards. I don't know if Whirlwind is weak in comparison to that, or is just weak overall in Torment 6.
It's a good point. It might just be weaker on higher difficulties. I know it's hard to convince the devs to buff something that players are currently using, because there are a ton of Barb builds that no one's using. Just a multitude of horrible builds that could be viable if they were buffed, that I would say should probably have precedence over builds that are being used by some. Now, chat is providing some feedback here now, saying that Whirlwind just really doesn't work in the higher torments. But I don't know. What do you think? Is it okay if it's only good on the lower torments?
Well, I mean, right now it's if your only options are playing like a Pet Barb or the Leap Quake, then I would like to see, even if I never play a Barbarian, then at that point, sure, why not? Let's make Whirlwind more viable as well, just so you have another option. Then it will come down to which is more efficient, and then you can play it in Torment 6, but it clears Nephilim Rift 3 minutes slower than a Leap Quake one does, and is though so it needs to be buffed again. That point, whatever. But yeah, if just to give more variety, give people more chance to play. Though I don't know if anyone that plays a Barbarian, if you played the same exact build for the past like year and a half, why would you want to continue to play it? I don't know. That would make me sick. Since everyone spin to win in Diablo 3 as a Barbarian for the majority of Classic.
Yeah, I'm always a little skeptical there. Do you really just enjoy the play style there and you want it to be on par with the other builds, or do you really just miss having the most overpowered build in the game and you want to be back there?
Well, who wouldn't miss having the most overpowered build in the game? I constantly say that I don't play, for efficiency. I play for fun, and if that build was the most OP one, hell yeah, I'd miss it.
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, sorry we can't provide more on barbs. Should we go right into our items of the week?
Yeah, let's hit up the items of the week and see how much time that we have left for feedback afterwards.
All right. Well, actually, the first item I had isn't really an item, but more a story we had about a monk. A monk using the amazing build that Nine Ball showed off. Build of the century, I would say. And it was able to achieve nearly 300 million toughness.
This is impressive. This is just seriously impressive.
Now, this came from Handset Battery, who really took Nine Ball's build to heart and has been using the support monk. He says he can't do a whole lot of damage, but his clan wants him for every run they do. He is the MVP of the clan running this support build because he can really buff. And he has a lot of items that are based on gold pickup, and of course he has the belt that gives him armor.
Yeah, this was one of those things where they took the build, and I have to give credit to Danny Ray was the one that kind of put this build together, and even then, it's still kind of taken from some things that we had found in the community. But they took this and then they made it their own, and how they did that is they put on a gold skin, a gold wrap, gladiator gauntlets, and then the Castarian wrist guards. So it would increase they have all these items that increase the amount of gold that you have drop. And then you have the wrist guards, which give you the armor bonus based on how much gold you've picked up in the last 5 seconds.
Oh, was it the wrist guards? I was thinking it was the belt that did that.
Or maybe that was the belt. Or yeah, you're right. It's the belt that gives that bonus, and the wrist guards give you experience based on how much gold you pick up. So it was just ridiculous, and this is just like taking off. As you can see in the screenshot there, only 111,000 damage, but with just being able to pull and suck in everything with Cyclone Strike and then throw up exploding palms, it makes it your own. You go through and you wreck things.
Yeah, so that was a pretty impressive photo. Thanks for sending that in. But getting on to the actual items of the week, we have some Ogild's bracers here from Cammy that rolled damn near perfect. A little bit of variance there, but they still haven't enchanted them, so there's always hope. 20% arcane damage, 484 int, 99 all res, and 5.5 crit.
Yeah, for that one, I'd almost say, I guess the 0.5% crit chance is like really the only thing to re-roll on that, because you're only 16 points away from being perfect on the intellect and 1 point away from being perfect on the elemental resists, and because it's Ogchiles, your 2 secondaries are perfect. You don't want to change that.
Yeah, and the title of the email that Cammy sent in, I believe, was "How many rolls will it take to get 6?" Which of course meaning 6 crit chance.
The world may never know.
Hey, I mean, really, other than just trying to get those beautiful-looking bracers, it might be worth it to just save your Forgotten Soul.
And just going to throw this out there, completely random. Obviously, that is allusion to or reference to the old Tootsie Roll Pops. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? I saw a picture on Reddit that someone actually counted their number of licks, and it was 179, so it wasn't that impressive.
That's not just... Is that just like... Because no one licks, right, a Tootsie Roll Pop. Like, you suck it, right?
Yeah, apparently they just licked it.
It just seems
Then, of course,
boring. Just
this, of course, is believing something you saw on the internet. So take it what you will.
everything I've seen on the internet is true.
100%.
100%. Well, the next one we got was a Cinder Coat. Something else to make 9-ball jealous here. A Dex Cinder Coat. That's
not as jealous though.
No, not so much. Well, keep in mind, doesn't look like they've enchanted this at all.
Well, they could have enchanted the sockets.
That's true. The world may never know.
Yeah, that one you actually have to open up in the enchanting window in order to know. Someone has been correcting us on YouTube and finally sent an email and on Twitter that it's like, you guys, seriously, it won't show the enchant. So it's like, okay, all right, sorry, we forgot. Okay.
Yeah, maybe we need a fix there because we gotta know. We gotta know if you enchanted your sockets. It's the fake breasts of Diablo. Are those sockets real? Did you just enchant those? We need to know. Next up, we got Gertie sent in these Marauders pants, and I wouldn't mind getting in Gertie's pants.
No, I would not either. Considering I just found my first piece of Marauders, so I would definitely take that. It's a 2-piece set bonus right there.
Yeah, it's very close to max Vit, max Dex, close to max All Res, and the 2 sockets. That's what you want.
Yep. I believe it was what was it? It was I just want to give credit. I believe it was JT was the person that was correcting us and sending the tweets and such. So I just want to give credit where credit is due.
We don't assure that any of the information we give is true, by the way. So
nope.
We make sure to make up at least 3 or 4 things per show just to throw you guys off.
And it is your job. It's like what is it? Penn and Teller tell a lie. Archon and 9-ball tell a lie. Which one of these stories is completely made up?
That's part of the show. I don't know if you guys realize this yet. You're supposed to be doing. No one's doing the other half yet. Everyone's just believing us. Yeah,
Whoa,
half those witch doctor skills I just showed you aren't even in the game. That was photoshopped.
They're fake.
Yeah. Anyways, the next item we have is from Rudar. I hope I'm saying that right. And he sent in some best in slot armor, as he called it. Very sexy Tasker and Theos. Very close to perfect. A Mask of Jerem, depending on the stats you want. I think you could call that nearly perfect. And then a Thing of the Deep here. Not sure how this got into the picture, but 18 to 22 damage on a level 70 Thing of the Deep.
Well, that's impressive by itself. Not for how good it rolled, but for how low it did.
Yeah, and we were discussing before the show. You think that has to be bugged, right? That's level 70. 18 to 22? Yeah.
I guess this is wasn't there a time period when the offhands were bugged, like heavily bugged?
It's possible. Forget things. But yeah, sorry for your horrible Thing of the Deep roll there. We did have one more awesome item of the week. And that's this Wand of Woe.
Whoa.
Woe is right. Because after a 10% damage increase, it's up to 2450 damage. 742 int and a socket. 3 additional explosive blasts. It's just, yeah, I mean, near perfect Wand of Woe right there.
Yeah. And, I mean, even that one even rolled well on the secondary because you got the maximum arcane power.
Yeah.
That's one of those big things that people, some of the secondary stats for certain classes actually can make a pretty big difference. Arcane power, especially like discipline for demon hunters, is huge. So getting that secondary stat roll, or monks getting an individual resist instead of all resist, they all could be like game changers.
Yeah. So, way to go. We did have some more items of the week sent in, but we've gotten to the point where if we show them all, the show goes way too long. The show already goes too long. It goes even longer than that. So we're starting to choose just like the top 5 items, but please continue to send them in. The best way to send us items or feedback or naked pictures of your cat, which we're really into. We're going to start showing those. Is our email, which is westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com.
Yes. I almost was wondering where you're going to take that when you started saying naked pictures. It took me a second to catch up there.
Yeah, just of... And by naked, I mean without fur, obviously.
Of course. What else would it be? What else would it be?
Naked cats. items of the week, and feedback all go to Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com, and we appreciate all of it.
So, shall we get into some feedback?
Oh my God, we have too much feedback, really.
Yeah, I think we might have to save some of this feedback for next week because we're already we're hour and a half into the podcast right now, so we don't want to make it too long. We definitely appreciate for everyone that is still hanging out here in chat. As well as anyone that is still listening to us on iTunes and Stitcher. You haven't hit skip on your play button yet, so we thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. The show's really gained some popularity, and of course that's all you guys. And the show's very heavily community driven, and without you guys submitting all this feedback and just being awesome viewers and listeners, we wouldn't have that. So. I'm quite blessed to have you guys.
You mind if I start it off?
Yeah, I was thinking we just do speed run feedback. You take one, I take one. We'll just keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. First one. This one is actually kind of a cheating because it's for both of us. This one is from Olav, and he has the first question. He actually asks about my opinion on a Demon Hunter Sentry build, and my answer to that one is, I'm going to answer that question with our build next week. So I don't want you to think that I'm skipping over your question, but this is the build that we have lined up for next week's podcast. We'll go into the Sentry build, and I will specifically address your question then. And I did not know the answer to this question. I had to go and look it up this last week. But I got the answer, and it's not a directly... It's not a completely easy one to answer, but I will get to you next week. Don't worry about that. And the second question is actually for you, Archon. How's that SC2 mod going?
Yes, this is from OM Veg, of course, one of my big viewers. And I was working on a StarCraft 2 mod for a while, and took a break for a number of reasons, but thank you for asking, Owen Badge. I've actually been thinking about it the last few days, and I'm getting into it this week, so ask me next week how it's coming, and I will have progress. I want to get back into this, some development of games, as it's a passion of mine, and yeah, that mod would be fun to work on again. Let's see. A lot of feedback to get through, but Terry Kluke also sent in a question about leveling a character. He said, assuming that you can't get someone to power level you, what's the best way to level? Do you do bounties, rifts, take your time, whatnot? And really, I mean, getting power leveled is so much faster than leveling on your own. That if you can, I mean, if you're about efficiency here and you're just ready to be max level, try to get power leveled. I wish it wasn't so good. It's really still a lot faster to get power leveled. But you know, if you can't get power leveled, and if you have a max level character, of course you're going to want to find some level reduced gear, your Hellfire ring, soon a Hellfire amulet, and just and plow through. I mean, get to adventure mode as fast as you can. It's going to be faster than story. Bounties are good because you can save up the rift fragments for max level and run some rifts. If you're going solo, rifts are going to be the best way to go, in my opinion, or in my experience at least. Do you have anything else?
Really? I thought that especially if you're using level reduction gear and you've got like a ruby, a high level ruby in your weapon, that bounties was the fastest way of going. Just shotgunning through the Act 1, Act 4 bounties. Just because they're quick and easy, and you get so much experience from actually completing them, plus completing the events tied with it, that gives you more experience per time than it is running rifts.
Yeah, listen to 9-Ball, because I don't level much, and when I do, I'm power leveled. So I think 9-Ball's probably right there. Rifts are always a better place for loot, but I think you're right as far as experience goes. Especially if you can get some more people in your group, then bounties are going to be the way to go.
Yep. All right, going on for the next question. We actually have a lore question here. Let's see. This one is from Desinx09, I think it is. And they just are talking about, I haven't found the full pages for it, but I had a question about the Blackrock Ledger. What's the lore behind it, and how many pages does it have? That is actually, there's not really that much lore behind it. That is actually a reference to the TV show Lost. It's just is a direct tie-in that they have. I don't know how many pages there are, how much it goes into, but yeah, that pretty much is just like a little Easter egg that they threw in because the developers really like the show Lost. So I wish there was more behind it, but there really isn't. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I have a question here from Arash Steindam, who said, "Is there any major difference between legendaries and really good rare items, beside legendary affixes? If not, shouldn't all legendaries have affixes? It seems weird that some don't have any affixes. They feel like glorified rare items." And I think that's good feedback, Arash. That's something that a lot of players are saying. There are a lot of legendaries in the game that don't have legendary affixes. And they're rare items with higher max stats. A lot of times you'll get rare items that even roll better than them. And that's not ideal. I think most of the devs would love it if every legendary item had a legendary affix that made it superior to rares. But it takes dev time. Sometimes it takes art team time or budget. And they can only get so many legendary items into the game. So, yeah, I think moving forward we'll see better legendaries, more legendary affixes. It seems like the item game is where they put most of their focus on. But I think you make some good feedback, and it's something that a lot of players share the sentiment about, that some legendaries are just kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. And Chad is saying there's 6 Black Ledger pages. So,
oh, there you go.
6. There we go. We got the answer. Thank you, chat. All right, next one, we have another lore question here. This one was sent by 9ball number 1 fanboy. I don't know if that's my number 1 fanboy or they're saying that I'm the number 1 fanboy. So I don't know. I'll take that as a positive way. Thank you. Let's see. At the end of the terrible disappointment that we now know as the Reaper of Souls in cinematic, Tyrael mentioned something about the possibility of the player character turning bad. What possibilities can we potentially see from that point onwards, in your opinion? In my interpretation of it is kind of obviously we've defeated, the most powerful minions of hell. We've also gone through and defeated the most powerful angel in heaven. What else is there left for us? I kind of see this as, Sanctuary is no longer the battlefield that the angels and demons are fighting over, and that now we're going to be entering the eternal conflict as like a third party. Now it's going to be like a 3-way fight between humanity, demons, and angels, and they're not going to really be on anyone's side, and we'll be, fighting for our own, and that we might have the angels and demons turn upon us. Back at the anniversary stream, I actually got to stream along with some of the writers and world designers for Diablo 3, and they kind of mentioned that it's still up in the air, and that this ending was kind of made that way as kind of like a thought provoker, but nothing is actually written. They might have ideas of where they want to go, but nothing is set in stone right now, so it really could go anywhere. And that's just my personal feelings on it, is just going to see us kind of maybe fighting both heaven and hell at the same time. We'll have to see, because we're definitely now, this kind of brings us, we're a player at the table now. We're no longer just something to be fought over. We're our own faction.
Ooh, that's pretty interesting. Every time 9ball talks about lore, I get a little bit more interested and wonder if I should be spending more time on it.
It gives you that half second of hesitation before you hit the space bar going through, the story.
Yeah, I think that's right. About half a second early before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got one from Bob the Titan here, who has been playing on the console, which we don't play much console, but we've both played some. Mm-hmm. And he, if I can say so, I apologize, Bob, has a little bit of a tinfoil hat on. And is wondering what happened to all of his legendaries. He just hit level 30, and he hasn't found a single legendary. Clearly, the game has changed. And this is some sentiment that a lot of people feel, Bob. And I think we've all felt it at least once while we play Diablo. Sometimes it just feels like the odds are against us. But I think that's just the nature of RNG. I think, for the most part, if there hasn't been an announced change in drop chance, it's safe to say there hasn't been a change in drop chance. But as long as the game is mostly driven by RNG, you're going to have these little droughts. And you're also going to have some feasts, sometimes where you're just getting tons of legendaries. So hold in there. Sometimes you go a while without legendary, but you'll be getting some soon. If you get to max level and you still haven't gotten a legendary, right back to us, and we'll look into it.
Yeah, and also the other thing is, and as they're just now going through and mentioning in the chat as they catch up to us talking, you're only level 30. Your first like 20 levels, there's not even. I think it's you can't even have a legendary drop until you're around like level 14 or 15, anyways. So it's scaled back at the lower levels. You're not really going to have that many drop. Don't worry about it. You will find plenty once you get higher level, because the console drops are actually ridiculously high. They're even higher than what they are in Reaper of Souls right now once you get to like Monster Power 10 and such. So don't worry about it. They'll come as you go and continue to play through. And then also, if right now, if you're playing on the console, I'd focus more on just playing and leveling up and trying to grind out some Paragon levels, because you'll be able to copy your character over into Reaper of Souls when it comes out for the consoles. And at that point, all of those items don't mean anything anyways. So maybe just try and focus on getting a Hellfire Ring just to help with the leveling, and then from there, just focus on, getting padding the Paragon meter.
Yeah, good call. Well, we got actually, I guess it was your turn. You also responded to that, and I got sidetracked there. Do you want me to take another one, or do you have one?
No. Let me see. There's actually another one that we got here, from Andurius,
Oh
and
yes.
they've been keeping track of all the legendaries that they found post-release. He or she has written down every single one that they have found in total. And they've
It's
broken it down
impressive.
percentage wise. Yeah, they found 500 when they sent this email. They found 539 items in total, and it's like 12 of them have been two-handed axes. They went into so much detail on it. It's pretty awesome. And they also sent in a screenshot of rift that they had. That is just one humongously long line.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's like the only thing that they didn't include was factoring the drop chances from Kadala in that list. Um, it's just some fun things, and they also wanted to go and show, what is this? I guess they had the Manajuna's item that they had submitted for the item of the week.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't make it. I did want to show the at least one of the pictures that was sent in, so I just put up on the screen the map of the rift that he cleared, and as you can see, at first glance it might just seem like a small corridor, but no, each of those lines is its own corridor. That's a very long map there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen something like that. But yeah, thank you for the feedback. Let's see, I think one of the last pieces we had was from Alienationer, who wrote a fairly long email pretty much saying that he's been playing solo, and he heard us say the best way to do it is multiplayer. Get in a clan, play with some other people, go in a party, you're getting better loot, and it's a lot more fun. But he hasn't had much luck getting into a clan. A lot of people are looking for people who are 200 Paragon or higher, he says. And it's just been hard for him. And he says he wants some feedback other than keep trying or you'll get there. Which, I'll be honest, was probably what I was going to give you. But yeah, maybe we can try a little bit harder there. I haven't had to find a clan on my own because I started a clan for my stream. We do have some room in that clan right now, so feel free to send a request to the Arcanites. I can't guarantee that we'll get everyone in, but the Arcanites, Archonites, still has some room. What do you think?
And if they don't, the Blizz Pro clan does. We have plenty of spots open.
Oh right,
We
nice.
have we're not a large clan, but we're a dedicated clan. So there's a bunch of us. I want to say the majority of us play hardcore. So if you play hardcore, we'll definitely be able to go through and play with you. That sounds wrong. If you don't play hardcore, don't worry. We have other people that don't either. And I mean, I'm not Paragon 200, so don't feel bad. Definitely, real life comes in the way of playing the game. We don't have as many hours to dedicate to it as we would like to. So don't feel bad at all.
There you go. And if you're looking for a community to join, the one community I'm part of now is Stream for Charity, and anyone can join that. I'm not sure if BlizzPro has a community. I think just a clan for now. Huh?
Yeah, we don't have. I think there is a Blizz Pro community, but no one's ever joined it, so it's not really actively moderated.
Yeah.
Though, not to take away from that, but we also are part of the stream, not just the in-game community, but Blizz Pro is also part of the Stream for Charity organization. To go through and stream for charity. I know that's mind blowing how that works, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we still got a few more emails here. Do you
I
have one
guess.
pulled up? Or should I
Yeah,
grab one?
I've got
Okay,
one.
cool.
Hold on. Where was it? Where was it? Nope. I had one and then I clicked out of it.
You find it. I'll read this one real quick.
Okay,
We
go
got
ahead.
from Alex, written to both of us. He was the one that submitted the sexy lightning SOJ. And he says he really likes the podcast. And he says he wants to tell us that him and his friends have been playing Diablo since they were kids. He lives in Korea. He doesn't get to hang out with his friends in person anymore, but he still meet up on Diablo almost every day. And he listens to the show while he's doing mindless things at work. He's been subscribed to my channel since the early days of D3, and he says he would have been a fan of 9-Ball back then too if he had found him earlier. He told friends about the podcast, and he hopes that we keep it up. Just wanted to say thanks. So thank you, Alex. That was really nice
Yeah.
of you. And
Man, thank you. And you would have had a hard time finding me because I didn't stream in the past. So
there you go. Yeah, always nice to just get those nice emails about people who are enjoying the show.
And I found the email that I wanted to read. This one is from Dustin Zoll.
All right.
Good day. To start, I love the Westmarch Workshop podcast, and I've been watching Archon from basically when he first started streaming, and I miss you. I also have some constructive criticism for 9-Ball. I really enjoy this podcast, but one thing that really annoys me is that he makes me feel bad, and that is when 9-Ball starts talking about hardcore versus softcore. He basically makes me feel like it seems that softcore is complete shit, and anyone who plays it is an a-hole wasting their time. To be honest, I play both and have leveled to max level a few times and died on hardcore, and I do find it fun, but I also enjoy softcore. In my opinion, it seems like he just puts people down for playing softcore and doesn't think it's very nice. I also have almost no incentive to play hardcore right now without ladders. On hardcore, you just stack a ton of defense stats and it takes much longer to kill anything, whereas softcore, you don't worry about any of that. You just put as much damage as you want and blast through mobs more. Personally, I find that more fun just destroying mobs non-stop. Like I said, I also like to level my hardcore from many times too. My point is, please just stop trying to make the softcore players feel like shit for playing softcore. And I'm sorry that you've gotten that impression, because I want to say that almost every time I talk about hardcore, I go to great lengths to always say that hardcore isn't for everyone. And if you don't like playing hardcore, I have absolutely no problems against it. I have no qualms against it. So if I've come across as being a hardcore elitist for that, I'm very sorry, and it was unintended. So I will definitely try and maybe check my comments in regards to that. I really do not mean anything against anyone that plays softcore. If I made you feel like shit for playing softcore, I'm definitely deeply sorry. The majority of my real life friends all play softcore. None of them play hardcore. It's definitely, I have nothing against anyone that plays softcore. So again, profusely sorry, and not one of our sarcastic sorries that we normally go through and do. Sorry, I am legitimately sorry if I made you feel that way. So I will try and be a better podcast host and not make you feel like shit.
As someone else who also happens to be on this show, I think that this might be a circumstance of someone just getting the wrong impression. You have done a good job of saying that it's not for everyone, but nice of you to reiterate. But I'll also, on the other side, I'll say you can plow through hardcore, killing mobs super fast. You just got to play on lower difficulty. That's what I've been doing on my Witch Doctor.
Yep. And that's also one of the other things. The one thing that I will go through and point out there, that the difference is not just stacking a bunch of defense and killing slower. Because if you watch some of the people that stream hardcore at Torment 6, they are killing just as fast as the people that are doing it on softcore. But they have 20 million more toughness than them because their gear is that better. If you look at a lot of the stats on Diablo Progress, some of the top geared people, not just in terms of survivability, but in terms of damage are actually hardcore, because the people that put the time into it, they of course they need to have that same level as damage as a softcore player, because you can never get that much defense unless, of course, like you're our lovely person that submitted the 295 million toughness monk earlier. You still need that killing speed, because they'll still kill you even if you stacked a ton. So there's the one inconsistency that I will say that's there, that the hardcore players and their gear can get really crazy when you see some of the top people.
True story.
Not trying to be elitist. Sorry. Sorry. Just saying what I feel.
Both good options. Well, we got this other email from Swarm that kind of goes the other side of it. He was looking for more information on hardcore, what to look for different classes, strategies to stay alive, and hopefully we'll provide some more of that now that both of us are playing at least some hardcore. This Witch Doctor build today, and hopefully more in the future will be pertinent towards hardcore players. But he also wanted to say, we pretty much said the same thing that we talked about earlier, that you don't know when a piece of gear has been enchanted to have sockets.
Yep.
So thank you.
Now
also
know that. We'll never forget. Never forget. And
I think that was that it. Do we have what the novel idea? Did we read that one?
No, we did not.
That is a novel in and of itself. I just realized.
Yeah. Do you want to save that one for next week, since we're already, like almost
Let's do it.
2 hours in? So,
Yeah.
What is it, Vinton? Sorry, if you're listening to this, we will read yours next week. I promise you. We'll get you, and we'll get Olav's questions answered next week. Sorry, just the patch and talk about 2.1 and stuff. We went a little bit long at the beginning of the podcast.
Indeed, as usual, I guess. And maybe to wrap it up with Mikey's pro tip from chat, he says...
Hold on. This is an impressive pro tip. This one will help improve your hardcore gameplay to the next level. Actually, seriously.
Yeah, I could guarantee you, if you follow this one tip, you will never lose a hardcore character.
This one tip changed people's lives and made them play hardcore for life.
It's true. And Mikey's hardcore tip is, don't let your health drop to 0. That's all you gotta do.
Mind-blowing.
Mind blown.
Mind-blowing.
Health doesn't hit 0, you never die. So thank you, Mikey, for that pro tip. Everyone, I'm sure, will switch over to hardcore now. And I think that wraps up this episode of Westmarch Workshop.
Yeah, I believe that is it. So again, thanks for everyone that joined us here live in the chat tonight. Sorry that we got delayed. Some real life things came up and about. But next week we should be back at our normal time on Wednesdays.
Yes, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you guys want to watch live, it's twitch.tv/ArchonTheWizard, and you guys can give us your feedback during the show. We like to have a little bit of chit chat. Otherwise, catch us on Stitcher, iTunes, and YouTube. We really appreciate those thumbs up and the good ratings on there. You guys have helped us spread the word, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we live off of your feedback and what you want to hear, and so we appreciate it. Would really ask you to just, give us a rating. 5 stars, obviously, are mucho bueno. I probably butchered that. But, if you only think that we're 4 stars, go ahead. Give us 4 stars. But then also tell us why you think that we didn't deserve that 5 and what we can do to be better. And so, yeah. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
See you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you.